Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Speak by myself. Members, can you ensure your microphone is positioned directly in front of you and not to be pushed to the side, because we want to hear every valuable word from each one of you. And that's as genuine as I can make it there for you, is okay. The new microphones are very directional, and if your mic's not directly in front of you, we won't hear your contribution. We would also hear other members chatting in the background. If that is the case, we would ask you not to do that while others are speaking. Could all members online, we've already tested and we know you're all working, so just to inform those in the meeting to let them know that we have online tonight Councillor Joy Ferguson, Councillor Tim McClellan and Councillor Peter Lavery. Can I ask ICT to confirm that we've begun live streaming? Okay. Good evening, members, and welcome to the Economic Development and Regeneration Committee, and we're going to start off with our apologies, and I'm going to see if there's any from the floor. No apologies from the floor. I haven't received any. But we know we've already covered Councillor Ferguson, Councillor McClellan, Councillor Lavery are joining online. Members, we'll just take our declarations of interest. If there are any declarations, are we happy to take them from the floor as normal? Thank you, members. Okay, members, just before we go to agenda item 3, you'll notice in front of me tonight we have a nice trophy, and it's fantastic that we've brought it here tonight. More fantastic that we actually won it, and this is for the best outcome of the past decade in local councils. A fantastic award to win, and we won it on behalf for our Food Heartland Award, which is a really great award that we got. We're up against Antrim and Newton Abbey and Mid and East Antrim Council in the final 3. I know some of us were at the dinner in the Game of Thrones. It was a great evening. We had a couple of entries in from Council. 5 were submitted and a couple were there. We also won another award for the place plans that night, but on this committee we're delighted that it was won by our Food Heartland team. And it's not a big team, but there's been some members. Nicola and Sarah Jane have been there, I think, from the start. But I know right across the council, many have had an input into this department of Food Heartland, especially in the year of food and drink, when it was very much at the forefront. So it's been great. And I know members, the support of members here has been really appreciated by the staff to really keep pushing this forward. So we're going to watch a short video here just about our year of food and drink, and then we'll open the floor up. Thank you.
I'm here today to join in the celebration of Food Heartland. It's been 10 years in business. We're here to celebrate the fabulous producers, the network of food outlets that we have, the fabulous premises here, everything from farm to fork.
It's great to be here today to see how successful it has become, how it has grown, how it has united food with agriculture, and also how it's the first in the UK to have that combination.
It's great to see our local food industry and what it means to our council area, where we bring in so much, and in back of the agri strategy as well, helping, supporting and promoting what is all good within our Food Heartland area.
The Food Heartland means an awful lot to me personally. It's full of great producers, great chefs. It's all right here on our doorstep. We could supply a whole country based on what you can get from the Food Heartland, and it really is amazing.
The Food Heartland community really just kind of took me under the wing and made me realise that I was part of something bigger, part of the community.
I hope to achieve my role as champion just to strengthen the hospitality with the SRC as well, with young kids coming on into the industry.
So in my role as young farming champion, I hope to inspire and get involved as many young people as possible into agriculture and young farmers, as food production is the most important sector.
As a Food Heartland champion, I am hoping to offer any of my experience over the last 20 years as an artisan food business, but also with sustainability, with agriculture. Where we started from was adding value to our own products on the farm.
As we celebrate this 10th anniversary, I'm proud to be part of it, and I really can't wait to see what the next 10 years produce for the Food Heartland for Northern Ireland. And I want to wish all of our companies and everybody involved in it huge congratulations and wishing them great success for the years ahead.
Okay, members, so that video was made before the award, so it wasn't mentioned in it, but it was great that was a part of the celebration. So I'm just going to bring in Sarah Jane here just for a comment on it. I've asked her to just say a couple of words on it before we open the floor to members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. It's just lovely to be here this evening and to be here with the award that we secured at the NILGA Awards recently for the Food Heartland. Just to say that it's been a huge team effort from across Council and many of our colleagues who are behind the scenes that people don't see. So you'll see many of us at the events, but there's a huge team behind all of this, holding the whole thing up, should we say. So that's our colleagues in communications and design, colleagues from technical services helping us at events, procurement, finance, you name it, everyone and every department, I believe, has been part of the Food Heartland. So it's a credit to everyone. And I personally would just like to thank senior management as well for their support over the years, and particularly yourselves. This committee has really been the driving force behind the Food Heartland, and without this political support that we have from you all, it wouldn't be here. I believe it wouldn't have lasted this length of time. So just to put on record our thanks from the staff, because it means a great deal. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Sarah Jane. Just before we bring a member, just to update, we now have also Councillor Kevin Savage and Councillor Thomas O'Hanlon are online tonight. So Alderman and Councillor Mallon as well. Thank you. Okay, Alderman Baxter.
Thank you, Chair, and just to congratulate, I know Sarah Jane's here tonight, and Nicola and the whole team, and you have mentioned that there are others behind it. Listen, I think from a council perspective and from a committee perspective, the Food Heartland was always a huge success. I remember we were in awards, food and drink awards ceremony, Sarah Jane, many years. It feels like many years ago. It's maybe 7 or 8 years ago now, and I think we swept the board that night. Or you swept the board that night, I think, as well with awards. And I think it's worth noting and worth just maybe emphasising the point that the NILGA Award this time was for, you know, the best initiative over the last 10 years since RPA, since the reform of local government. So it's a 10-year award, so it's absolutely massive. It can't be underestimated, and I think it's one of this council's something we can be very proud of, and it's one of the biggest successes that ever has come out of the council. So look, you know, I don't think we would say much more about it. Only a huge congratulations to you and the team. It's a fabulous award. It was a great night too, I have to say. It was good to see the other awards that the council won as well, but particularly this one. I think it's something in this committee we all certainly felt very passionate about. We spoke about it many times, and something that involves, you know, the growers and the agri sector and all those businesses out there, and it really has become the Food Heartland. And I think that message has really got out. Sometimes messages from council don't really get out into the wider public, but it certainly has, and with all our local producers. So it's just went from strength to strength, and that's testament for all the hard work that's gone on behind the scenes. So it's great to see it, and congratulations again, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter and Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Sarah Jane and her team. Obviously delighted with the result, but not surprised, because the Food Heartland team, led by yourself and others, has always been a very positive one for the council, and it's one of those initiatives that many of the businesses within that whole Food Heartland scene has always been praising the council. And I think since the formation of the council, it was this particular department and this particular initiative is one that has always shone through, and praise coming from businesses and the support they get. So it's many times it's the on-scene that is happening in the background that businesses get support from Sarah Jane and her team that really does go unnoticed by probably us at times. So we just want to really thank you and your team for this NILGA award. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think it really puts us in really good footing. I think it would be also good, Chair, that I propose that you would also, when we're talking about awards, as Chair, write to the several businesses in our council area who won awards at the Countryside Alliance this time last week. We had Sinton's at the Bridge, we had the Head of the Road, Loughall Village Shop, and last but not least Garden Fresh and Lily's Flowers in Tandragee all won awards. All were shortlisted from across Northern Ireland, and I think that's another testament of the Food Heartland and how it all links with all the businesses throughout the ABC area. It really shoes in very well, and it shows you that at this stage in NILGA and at a Northern Ireland stage, those businesses now have been shortlisted from other businesses across Northern Ireland, and it was by votes, and it was local people voting for these particular businesses, and now they're going to London in June for the awards ceremony, and hopefully they'll win the cream on the cake. But even if they don't, they've got this far. So if you as chair, and my proposal would write and congratulate those businesses, it would be much appreciated. But thank you, Sarah Jane, and your team.
Thank you, Alderman Barry. Yep, certainly happy to make sure that's done. And if they need company to go to London or anything, you can. Sure, I think I've seen you at the awards with them, and it looked to be a great night. So, and we're going to bring in Councillor Kai Savage.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, just to concur with everything that has been said there, and to thank Sarah Jane and all the team. I've been at many of the events over this last number of weeks, and it's great to see those local businesses that are involved in the food industry and the enthusiasm they have for their business and for showcasing the area that we're blessed to be from here in Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon. We are so lucky, and I think it's great to see winning one award is fantastic, but this council winning 2 awards at that event, the Nilga Awards, is exceptional, so it is. And especially winning it on our own doorstep at the Game of Thrones means so much more. I think it does highlight how much work goes into this council behind the scenes, and sometimes we don't get the credit, the staff don't get the credit they deserve at times with that, and I just want to put on record my thanks to all the team that have helped make this happen. Agri is a very important part of our community and this council. This council being the second biggest council area in Northern Ireland, and it's so important, the largest rural council, and it's so important that this is recognised. And again, it's leadership. Leadership starts at the top and filters down. Everybody has to pick the right person for the right position on the pitch, and I think that's clear that has happened here at this case. So I want to thank everyone for that, and I'm sure those within the agri industry will be very proud of what this council has achieved. But thank you once again.
Thank you, Councillor Savage, and you're like myself, we always like to attend to do the Food Heartland for we never leave hungry, and it's always a good event. Councillor Markle.
Thank you, Chair. Just to concur with everything's been said so far, and to second Alderman Barry's proposal if that's required, and to congratulate Sarah Jane and all the team for a brilliant achievement. I think the Food Heartland is definitely the envy of all other councils, so well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Markle. And Councillor Peter Labry.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo what's been said on behalf of my own colleagues, and as I think was touched on by Councillor Savage there. ABC Council won the best project of the last decade and also the most exciting project for the next decade. So it shows the long-term approach and the detailed approach that many officers take regarding improving this borough. And I think it's great that Sarah Jane and the team, both currently and all who have taken part in the Food Heartland project over the last 10 years, were recognised. And it's exciting times ahead for that project, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Labry. And Councillor Tim MacLeod.
Okay, Chair, thank you for letting me in. It's just to concur with everything that has been said. Absolute huge thanks to Sarah Jane and to Nicola and to the rest of the team in terms of the success the other night. And it, certainly from my perspective, agri and farming is not one of the most important. It probably is the most important industry within ABC Council, and it's fantastic to see it been recognised. And again, the very best of thanks and congratulations to the whole Food Heartland team. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor MacLeod. Okay, members, I think we're now going to move on to agenda item 3.1, and again, Sarah Jane, you're going to take us through this decision item for the ABC Labour Market Partnership.
Thank you, Chair. So item 3.1 is the ABC Labour Market Partnership Interim Letter of Offer from the 1st of April 2025 to 30th of June 2025. The decision is that it is recommended that the interim letter of offer from the Department for Communities for £35,282.78 be accepted to administer and run the ABC Labour Market Partnership from the 1st of April 2025 to 30th of June 2025 in line with the funding criteria. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant. And Councillor O'Hanlon. I think you're on mute, Councillor O'Hanlon. Just check. We can't hear you here.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Chair, can I declare an interest as chairman of the Appleby Trust? They receive funding through the Labour Market Partnership.
Okay, thank you. That's been noted. Alderman Moodray.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to propose. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder on the floor? Councillor Mackle, happy to second. All agreed, members? Thank you. Okay, members, and we're moving on to information items 3.2 and 3.3. 3.2 is a correspondence from the Department for Communities and Towns, Villages and Small Settlements. Members, are we happy to note, or is there any comments on 3.2? 3.2? Yeah. Okay, Councillor Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just it's great to see this is starting to move forward now, because I know we have been lobbying hard for the small settlements within our council area. There's a lot of small settlements in under 1,000 population which have been left with no funding at all just because of the criteria that's set down. So I'm delighted to see this, because, and as it clearly says there, rural isolation and access to jobs and that within rural communities. I suppose that just leads me on to, it's great that the Minister has recognised this, and all credit to him for that, and there's an announcement coming later on in the year. But I suppose it brings me to back, it's just wanting to ask about rural ABC. I know our council have heard about rural there right away, at the start here, and how important rural is to this council and that. And I know it has been brought forward there a while ago about rural ABC. I just want a wee update on that, if possible. Chair, just to say.
Okay, we'll finish this one.
Yep.
You've squeezed that in there very nicely there. We'll come back to it in a second. Councillor Flaherty.
You might want to go back to Councillor Savage, or yes, Councillor, I'm going to call you Deputy Lord Mayor there, because my question actually is much the same, and I have another couple of questions along the same lines.
On rural ABC?
Rural ABC, urban ABC.
We'll finish these out and then we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, members, so we've actually no questions on 3.2. 3.3, oh sorry, Councillor Cavan Savage online.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in there, and thanks for that report. No, it's just a couple of comments, Chair. It's very encouraging, the letter that we've got from the department in relation to funding, but we have got our staff of Brenda Brewster and all in the small settlements team and the work that they do, and I would just encourage them to continue on what they're doing. They've secured some funding for smaller settlements, so it'd be good to see if we get some more of that, but it's just good news, Chair, so thank you for letting me in.
No problem, thank you, Councillor Savage. Okay, members, so 3.2, we'll close off on that. 3.3, the local economic partnership update. Is there any questions around that? 3.3. Councillor Savage on 3.3.
Yeah, fully supportive of it, Chair. But there's one term of phrase there that I don't really like, and that is support a town centre first approach. And that's terminology I don't really think should be in any of our documents, because we're a widespread, that basically just with that statement that excludes villages and everything like that there, But it's just a small point. I'd like to note it. Thank you.
Okay, that's noted. I'm going to bring in the director then on the other points. But Councillor Flaherty, do you want to ask other questions before he comes in, or? Yeah, go ahead then.
Them out there. because it's along the same lines as my colleague Councillor Savage. First of all, obviously to welcome the letter from 3.2, because a number of the smaller rural settlements are in my DEA and others here, and they have over the length of time felt very undervalued when they see what is going on elsewhere. And coming on from that, again, following what Councillor Savage said, this town centre focused approach, I know it said, and I agree with your point here in this particular document, but that has been a focus of ours and in this committee with regards to urban ABC. And I have to follow up again my colleague's point about the rural ABC, which was talked about at length in this committee as far back as February and March, to the point that we were told it was going to be launched in March. Well, we're now in April. So I want to ask where that is, because I don't think my colleague did, but I'll ask, where are we sitting with rural RBC? And also, can I ask the director, whoever, where actually are we sitting at the minute with urban ABC? Because it has fell off the platform. And I really have noticed a lack of visibility. Now, I've missed the Chamber of Commerce meeting this evening in my own hometown because I'm just coming straight from work. So I was hoping maybe to get a bit of a discussion about it there, but I can't be in two places at once. But I've noticed a lack of visibility just of late. And I've also noticed, because I would follow it, as a lot of us would, I've also noticed what is there is not the same. It's very nearly like a duplicate. Sometimes it appears to be a bit of a duplicate of what's on our other social media channels, which is not what Urban ABC was purported to be. It also was previously noted in this committee as a priority. I certainly can go back through the minutes when I have mentioned it, and it was a priority in supporting our town centre businesses. And like I don't, maybe it's the algorithms, I don't know, maybe you'll correct me, but it does seem to really have fallen away. As also, and I refer back to the committee from February, where the job vacancies were being advertised on. That again was discussed at length at this committee in February, and we were to get information back about that. That never came. Information about rural ABC has never came. We were told there'd be a launch of that also in March. And truthfully, Chair and Director, I'm even loath to mention Christmas because we're now in April. And I have looked back. I would usually be talking about Christmas and Silent Christmas and the numbers and the feedback and surveys. There was a survey appeared on socials, and I didn't even think it was our council. I think it was some other company. I don't know what it was. Don't know where that has gone. And we're now in April. And I don't know what to make of that. The fourth thing I do need to point out now that I've got the floor and I'm keeping it is, I asked questions in the last committee and in full council about the use of the CPT at our council events, and a review. It was to be reviewed in the events working group. I believe that didn't happen, and I've also yet to so much as receive any sort of correspondence following my questions, and we're again back in the April committee. So, Director, I would expect some of those answers tomorrow at the very latest.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. And I suppose I'm not sure that I share all your grievances about the urban ABC, because I seem to see it all the time on my social media, so I don't know if it's just different feeds. And when you look through it, they're certainly still very much focused on businesses across the area. I know they are currently quite a bit of promotion of the rural ABC, so I'm not sure. So maybe the Director could answer some of those. There's 2 or 3 points there, Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for your queries in relation to urban ABC, rural ABC, I suppose the Christmas events, and also I think the mat toilet is we're talking specifically. Some officers obviously aren't here and can maybe answer that in detail. If members would be minded, we're happy to bring a report back on next committee, but also happy to have a discussion with you tomorrow at Council Factory in relation to updating you on some of those key issues. We do know that not long ago we did bring a report on urban ABC, and you're quite right, members did ask for some more expressed advertising around rural ABC and the jobs fair, etc. Correct, we did say we would bring a report back, and we are due to do that and give a thorough update. In terms of Christmas, we do plan to bring a report regarding the evaluation that we've completed in May. It's taken us a while to procure that evaluation, get that followed through. In terms of the Matt Toilet, it was on the agenda item but deferred at the working group, given the, I suppose, discussions and priorities we had around, I suppose, equipment, etc., as the events working group. And so it'll be brought up at the next working group, which we're hoping to schedule before the end of this month. And we give you a further update on that.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Okay, members, any other questions on these items? No? Okay. We're going to agenda item 4, 4.1. Brian's going to take us through our heritage places. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. So this report relates to heritage places, and with your indulgence, I'll just go through it in a wee bit more detail. There's a number of recommendations that I'll bring at the end, but just most members will be aware that the Borough was selected by the National Lottery Heritage Fund as a heritage place in 2023. We're the first in Northern Ireland, one of 9 across the UK. And again, effectively what that will mean, it will be a 10-year partnership between Heritage Lottery Fund and the Borough, and in terms of the celebration and enhancement and protection of heritage going forward. So what we've been asked to do is to develop a heritage strategy of a sort and an action plan which will be submitted to Heritage Fund for consideration. So one of the recommendations for members this evening is to permit us to bring a full presentation back into committee with as a draft document. It won't come as a finalised document, but as a draft document for discussion. There's been extensive engagement across the Borough from all arts and parts, and we've ended up in venues that we would never have used for consultation. And a number of themes are coming through on that. And there's also been an extensive schools programme as well, which has been really good, and we've got a lot of really good feedback from it. I think the point now that we're at is taking all of that information and trying to filter it and turn it into a strategy and a plan, an action plan. There's the second recommendation before members this evening is around what's termed learning journeys. So there are places, we've had a lot of work with some of the southern councils around things like UNESCO and so forth. A lot of the southern councils have heritage strategies and heritage officers in place. So there would be a recommendation to go to visit Cork and Cashel in May this year, and then further into Nottingham in June. And Dundalk and Drogheda, the dates have yet to be determined. These have been sort of well researched in terms of best practice and best examples in respect of heritage, and there's specialisms in each of those, so there'd be a very detailed itinerary pulled together. And we're recommending that the Lord Mayor and the Chair of Committee would attend, and I have said in the body of the report that again, if other members of committee were particularly keen to participate, that could be facilitated. Again, the third recommendation before members is around a grant scheme, and that is being developed at the minute. But the principles of the grant scheme, you will see the 4 key themes that come out of the heritage strategy from National Lottery Heritage Fund. So any funds will have to be aligned with those 4 key themes. And as I say, we're working through the detail of that at the moment, so that's not quite finalised. And one of the outworkings again of this Heritage Places initiative is that we've been approached by the National Gallery in London, and they want to place an Art on Your Doorstep exhibition in the Borough in 2027. So that the National Lottery team have been down and visited sites across the Borough, and they're going to come back with some recommendations as to where that might be. And again, there will be more detail on this as we get closer to the time. So the 4 recommendations you'll see before you this evening, and again, it's important to say all of what I've just outlined is funded 100% through National Lottery Heritage Fund. So again, the learning journeys included in that. So the 4 recommendations before you this evening is 1, that the committee receive a presentation the second one being that the learning journeys are approved and the Lord Mayor or nominee and Chair of Economic Development Committee or nominee be approved to attend. And just to note the approach at this stage, the delivery of the Community Heritage Grant Scheme and to approve that approach, and the proposal to partner with the National Gallery for the Art on Your Doorstep project be noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and that's quite a bit of detail in that report. We'll bring in Councillor Kyle Savage.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose if that's in keeping to do so. But I just want to thank Brian and his team too, as at some of the consultations that were carried out throughout the council area, and it is great to see the number of people turning out and voicing their concerns or their ideas not within the area. And I suppose it's very remiss of me if I didn't mention about the need that we have within some of our towns and villages throughout the council area, and indeed Dromore, whenever Dromore is above the Northern Ireland average of derelict and vacant buildings, and some of those buildings are in a state of disrepair now, you know, so it's good that hopefully that some of this money can be used to bring those buildings back to their former glory and not reinvigorate the town centre within Dromore. But again, I want to put on record my thanks to the team for all the work. Some of the meetings weren't that easily managed, but they've done a great job, and I want to thank them for that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Savage. I think you got a harder meeting than the one I done. I think it didn't go well. So bring in Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to second that proposal and thank Brian and his team for this report. It's a very positive story, and it's absolutely brilliant for our area, and I think we can't take that for granted, because to think that you know, to date there's 9 areas across the UK that have been designated as heritage places, and in Northern Ireland we're the only one, which is absolutely brilliant. Armagh City, Banbridge and Craigavon area, and I think that just doesn't happen by chance or by a wish. It's the work of Brian and his team that they've put into that to make this happen, and I would commend him and his team for this, because this is really positive, and we've already seen the various buildings in the likes of Armagh City that have really benefited from investment, and how that has really brought the city on, and those streets and the landscape has really transformed it. When you take a look what it was like 25 years ago to now, it's beautiful, it's vibrant, and it's positive, and it's bringing more businesses and investment into it. And it would be nice, as Councillor Savage has said, you know, to see that rolling out to other areas. So I'm happy to second it and look forward to future development in this. And I think it is good that the Lord Mayor and the Chair of the committee will be able to go around and look at what's happening in other areas to give us ideas, and indeed to encourage us to keep driving this forward. So thank you very much, and happy to second it.
Thank you, Alderman Barry. And members of proposer and seconder, we all agreed? Okay, thank you, members. Members, agenda item 4.2 is a letter of offer, and I'm going to ask Brian Johnson to take us through another decision item, members. So, thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Chair. So the next 2 items are again letters of offer, as the Chair has said. So this one is part of the Creative Community Shared Island project. Limerick City and County Council have been allocated a grant to a maximum of €5,000 to Armagh County Museum, and that's the long-term goal of this, is to create and promote a lace trail through the majority of historical lace making centres in Ireland. And again, so to that end, Armagh County Museum will collaborate with the other groups that are listed on the report. So the recommendation before members is that the letter of offer from Limerick Creative Grants for €5,000 be accepted. Thank you.
Okay, members, have any lights on in the proposer and seconder person? Proposed by Alderman Barry, seconded by Councillor Kyle Savage. Members, have any questions? All agreed? Agreed. Thank you, members. Agenda item 4.3 then, Brian, do you want to take us through that one? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So again, this is another letter of offer. This relates to a 2-year programme to develop, test and scale an early years intervention in museums and encourage a wide range of families to use and visit museums more often. National Museums of Northern Ireland have invited F.E. McWilliam Gallery in Banbridge to partner with them to this new programme. So really, effectively, it's a pilot programme between September 2025 and March 2026. So again, and you'll see the programme aims and outcomes outlined in the second page of the report. So the recommendation is that the partnership agreement between National Museums, NI and F.E. McWilliam Gallery with an accompanying grant of £18,280 be accepted. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And Alderman Burns?
So proposed, Chairman. I think this is great to see this agreement between the two, and I hope it goes from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Burns. And do we have a seconder? Councillor McElrath. Thank you. Members, we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Okay, we have no correspondence, so can I seek a proposer and a seconder to go into confidential items of business? Councillor McElrath, Councillor O'Kane, and I need to call you Councillor Mackler. Councillor O'Kane. Okay, members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, exempt information, we will now be moving into confidential session of the Council. This means that we'll be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I now ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm for me when the confidential section of the meeting can proceed? Thank you. Okay, members, can I now have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Councillor Mackle, Alderman Moutray. Okay, members, we've just agenda item 7 now. One item of AOB, and it's from Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Chair. Look, Chair, in recent weeks, we've seen a number of businesses in Armagh city centre shut their doors. And whilst it's devastating for families and individuals behind those businesses, also a blow for the city centre. And in some areas, it'll mean numerous properties empty in a row along a single street. I know we're all too aware of the impact of online shopping, the raise in national insurance contributions, and the rise in cost of products and services. And yes, I suppose the business rates as well. And as a local authority and employer, we know only too well the rising cost of running the organisation. Businesses out there are crying out for help, and they're turning to us for assistance. And whilst council can get a rap for a lot of things, many of the things are nothing to do with us. But there are things that we can do, like clean streets, like working with city centre management, regeneration and events. Chair, I know I've said before about city centre management groups needing some support, and in some cases they need rebooted, in other cases they need new groups established. In relation to Armagh City Centre, I know the City Centre Management Group are planning to meet in June with the wider business community, but that's 8 weeks away, and I want to see the group's membership widen to embrace more traders in the city. Can I ask that officers facilitate meetings with traders in the city centre as a priority under the umbrella of the Armagh Cusher Town Centre Task Force? And in that, can we include our own departments in around events, tourism, environmental services, as well as the Department of Communities, please? And I know I've advised the Director in advance that I'd be raising this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Hanlon will bring in the Director.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor O'Hanlon for raising this issue. We know that collaborative working to try and address, I suppose, the needs of vacant town centres is important. We're happy enough to set up a meeting with the task force group immediately, and I suppose other council departments to ensure that they attend that to see what we can do and work through that. So no problem setting up that meeting and moving forward on that.
Thank you. And Councillor Flaherty.
Thank you very much, Chair. No issue with anything has been said by Councillor O'Hanlon, but if you're doing it for Armagh, you'll be doing it for the Portdown DEA as well.
Alderman Baxter.
Yeah, look, and just what Councillor Flaherty says, if it's good enough for Armagh, it's good enough for everywhere. I think everywhere's in the same boat, you know, all the towns, you know, on the Tier 2 towns.
Okay, thank you, folks. I'll bring back in the Director.
Thank you, Chair, and certainly members, if it's good enough for one, it's certainly good enough for everyone else. No issue with that. The task force group actually in Armagh per se met in February. It's due another meeting in May anyway, so it'll be part of that structure along with the task force meetings that happen in all the other DEAs. We'll also progress, see what services can also attend those and have a consistent approach across each of the DEAs. Thank you.
Really surprised anybody mentioned anything there. Councillor McElrath.
Thank you, Chair. And listen, just on a general point around this, something I've noticed in Portdown, standing with one of our other councillors at one of the events recently. And I've got it from business people, and I noted businesses are very reluctant to take on premises where they're taking on 4 stories. They maybe only want the bottom story for their business, but they end up, because there's no other access to the floors in the building, they're having to take on a 3 or 4 story building, and a lot of them are dilapidated. The reason being, obviously, they don't want to be built for business rates for the entire 4 floors. But I think as a council, that's something we really need to look at. How can we reinvigorate? How can we set those businesses up that only want the ground floor, that we can landlords will agree to you know, let the other floors, perhaps for, I know my colleague was here at a time, Alderman Anderson, was a great advocate of trying to get folk back into our town centres to reside there. And if you look at the likes of Portadown, there's so many of those buildings, second, third and fourth floors are just lying empty. And nobody wants really, landlords quite happy either to get the rent or they're sitting vacant. But they're not, nobody's willing seemingly to try and get these other floors into operation. And as I say, I think it was Councillor Evans was standing beside me at one of the last events, and we were just looking around how many of these buildings, and it's putting businesses off going in because they're saying, I don't want 3, I don't want 4 floors, but I'm having to take the whole lot. It's all or nothing. So maybe that's something that's kind of, I know we have the emptied occupied scheme, but is there something else that we could look at on top of that to try and get these other floors into operation if a business only wants the ground floor? And it's just a point maybe to note going forward. I'm not sure about Armagh, if that's an issue, or Banbridge, but certainly an issue in Portadown.
Thank you. And it's something that has been talked about in this council for many years. We had meetings like similar to your suggestion there a long time ago, and we brought in people to speak, and it was talked about having, and I know in certain towns there is now quite a change of folks we've seen even in Banbridge, different buildings now having put in for flats or apartments, whatever above them. But and the point that I raised at this committee before is we have to be very careful on all this here, because sometimes we push hard to get a restaurant in the bottom floor. You can't have people living above certain things. So sometimes we go get planning for one thing which actually competes the other, and that's the thing where it always needs to be very joined up. So it is something that I think that we could do a bit of work on. It's not an AOB item, I don't think, to try and discuss, but I think it's something that could be brought in before we even have these task centre meetings again, because once you go, I know some places have been refused of places above them because they're in vicinity of different restaurants below them. So it all needs to be very joined up, I think, for you can sort of fill the bottom floor and then have nobody above it for that reason. But Alderman Barry.
Thank you, Chairman, and agree with every councillor that has spoken, and especially in relation to Councillor McElrath. I think the older the building, the more problems come with it, because I have had experiences with my day job where people have want to look to turn in, say, what was a ground floor apartment, and then it was empty above. So let's go and get planning for the first floor. But then, because of the very narrow width of the floor below, there's whole sound problem solutions that the landlord will have to put in. It just cost added thousands to his bill. And then he was looking at it and thinking, well, if I'm getting 400 or 500 a month for rent for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment, and it's going to cost me 20,000 to put in a floor, because of the building control stipulations and regulations, it would then prove very difficult. So I totally appreciate where you're coming from, but what we see now is HMO applications coming in to buildings on the edge of towns like Portadown and others, and you would sort of hope that maybe that would be concentrating more in relation to the town centre, focusing on town centres. But you know, I had a business person in with me this week who, as Councillor McElrath has raised, you know, that are paying for the full building, but all they're using is the ground floor, and it's empty up above. But because the landlord that owns it says no, you're paying for it all, and that's driving him to look at other options. But I think we need to focus on the empty to occupied, and I know I raised this before, and I would appreciate a report on it as to how we found that empty to occupied scheme went within the ABC area, because I know of several applicants who applied, who went through the process, and when it came to the stage of the finance stacking up, somebody was looking to turn an old house, 3-bedroom house, into 2 apartments. It was an empty building in the centre of the town, what we're talking about tonight. But when the finance came in, the quotes they could get was way over 400,000 for 2 apartments. It just didn't make sense. And this is where the problem, and it's not the council's problem, it's not the council's fault, it's the department. And the department are the ones that are putting in these stipulations that I think we need to robustly challenge, because if we want to see empty buildings being brought back to life, empty to occupy as it's called, it needs to work. It has to work. It has to be practical for that to happen, or not. No one. It cost those 2 particular applicants thousands to put the application in, and they've lost thousands, and will never touch another scheme unless they're pretty concrete sure that this is going to work. And that's the department's fault, not our fault, but because we're the ones that are having to administer it, we're the ones that's getting the blame. And I would like a report on that. I think I did request before, and there will be a report coming as to how that went to date and the issues that are there, because our officers will be the first to tell us the problems that they've faced as a result of people just walking away and saying it's not worth it. And there are key sites in many of our towns where people applied and just gave up. You know, so what we are raising tonight, I think, could be very easily resolved if those guys, civil servants up in Belfast, actually came down on the ground to see exactly how it's not working.
Thank you, Alderman Barry, and I think the key in all that is the joint up approach from everywhere, because I think we even need a good understanding within our building control and our plan and stuff that, you know, certain, thinking of just in Banbridge, and there's an office at the bottom and people living above it. It's fine. If there's a restaurant at the bottom, you don't have somebody above it and the sound and the issues, you know. So it is very, very tricky, and I agree there need to be something done and possibly looked at. So I think, well, Chatham, I'll bring in Alderman Mutry and then we'll just come back to it.
Thank you, Chair, and I would concur with much that has been said by many members here tonight. But if we start to look at Armagh and the issues, challenges and problems that are faced there, we'll find them replicated across Portadown, Lurgan and Banbridge. And I think the best way would be forward is to meet the groups in each of the towns and then convene a meeting for any interested traders to come to the Civic Centre and talk directly to the officer team and to elected members that are interested. Businesses face dark days ahead, not least because this week or next week they'll receive their rates bills. The minimum wage has kicked in this week and the national insurance rises have kicked in. And I might as well make the point. This has all been brought in by Councillor O'Hanlon's sister party at Westminster. And, you know, the silence from his two MPs has been absolutely deafening this last 3 or 4 months, who were so vociferous whenever the Conservative government was in power. What Labour has done has been worse than any Tory government has done. Yeah. So it has. So just when I'm on it as well then, Chair, I would like to ask, is there any update in relation to Invest NI visiting? Because it's several months now since we raised that with Invest NI, and the longer the delay goes on, it really indicates to me just how serious they take this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Mutry. I'll not attempt to comment on some of that there. I'll leave that for those who are maybe still online. But no, I think we did update last month that Invest and I are due here in May. I think we did bring an update back to say that they're coming in May, so they're due to be here. So, Paul, have you any comment then, just what way we would move forward in this?
I certainly understand the members, I suppose, queries and frustrations in relation to, I suppose, the likes of Empty Occupy. I think certainly Alderman Berry's comments around the departmental responsibility in terms of providing, you know, funding that stacks up to allow, I suppose, landlords to be able to progress something and to be able to confidently do that is really important. We've seen certainly through the heritage or the townscape heritage schemes, those things exactly to be able to happen and support developers, which we have seen businesses set up downstairs and a number of apartments in both Lurgan and Armagh are supposed to be established through that, albeit a heritage scheme. However, something wider than that, that I suppose a number of landlords could avail of would certainly be welcome and brought forward from the department, but we're happy as a team to consider that and bring something back for members to give them an update and maybe next steps in terms of how we should maybe potentially lobby to move forward something like that.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, there's no easy fixes in that one, and there's an awful lot that would go into it and a lot of factors competing on it. But members, I think that is all. We have no more lights on, so I want to wish you all a good evening and thank you very much for your participation. Thank you.